At the edge of Silver Peak Mountain, far from the busy cities and flying roads, there was a small village named Ravon. It was a peaceful place, full of trees, cold winds, and simple huts made of stone and wood. The people here lived with very little. They had no proper electricity, no running water, and no machines. They used candles at night, fetched water from a well, and cooked on firewood. In this village lived a young girl named Mira. She was only 17, but life had made her wise. Her parents had passed away when she was small, and she lived with her old grandmother. Every morning, Mira would walk deep into the forest to collect wild herbs and plants. She sold them in the small local market to buy food and medicine for her grandmother. Mira was poor, but she was not weak. She had strength in her heart and light in her eyes. Everyone in the village liked her because she always smiled and helped others. She shared what little she had and never asked for anything in return. One cold morning, Mira left her home early. The air was foggy, and the sky was gray. She had a small basket and a long stick to help her climb the rough paths near the mountain. She knew a place where rare healing plants grew after the rains. As she climbed higher, a strange sound filled the air, a loud humming, followed by a crash. Birds flew out of the trees, and the ground shook for a second. Mira stopped and looked around. She had never heard a sound like that before. Maybe a tree has fallen, she thought. But as she followed the noise, she saw something that made her freeze. There, just beyond a row of thick trees, was a strange object half buried in the ground. It was silver, smooth, and shaped like an egg. It had blinking lights and smoke coming from one side. Something had clearly fallen from the sky. Mira slowly walked closer, her heart beating fast. She saw glass cracked on one side, and inside was a man. His clothes were torn, and he had a deep cut on his forehead. He was unconscious. Without thinking much, Mira opened the hatch. It hissed, and hot steam came out. The man fell forward into her arms. He was heavy, and she had to struggle to hold him, but somehow she dragged him away from the broken craft before it made more strange noises. She didn't know who he was. He could be dangerous. He could be a soldier, a thief, or something else. But all she saw was a man who needed help. Mira looked around. She could not carry him all the way back to her village, but there was a small old hut nearby, one her father used long ago to store herbs and tools. It was broken, but still had a roof. Step by step, she pulled the man across the grass and helped him lie down inside the hut. She found a blanket and covered him. Then she ran to the stream to bring water. She used a cloth to clean the blood from his head. "Who are you?" she whispered, brushing his dark hair back. "Where did you come from?" The man did not reply. His face was pale and his breathing slow. That night, Mira stayed by his side. She made a small fire and boiled some herbs to help with the pain. She gave him water and wrapped his wounds. Outside, the stars were bright. Mira looked at the sky and wondered what kind of machine could fall from above. She had heard stories from travelers about the floating cities in the clouds, about people who lived in towers made of glass, about machines that could fly without wings. But she never thought one of those people would crash near her village. Next morning, the man opened his eyes. His voice was weak. "Where, am I?" "You are safe," Mira said gently. "You fell from the sky. I found you and brought you here." The man blinked slowly. He looked around the hut, then at her face. "You've saved me?" Mira nodded. "Yes." He tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Thank you," he whispered. "My name is Rian." "I'm Mira," she replied with a smile. "You need to rest. Don't try to move yet." Rian closed his eyes again, trusting her. He didn't ask questions, didn't seem afraid, and Mira felt something strange. A quiet connection, like meeting someone important, but not knowing why. She didn't know his real story. She didn't know he was a man who owned things she had never even seen before. Satellites, robots, flying cities. She didn't know he had more money than the whole mountain region combined. All she knew was that he was hurt, and he needed her. Rian slept for most of the day, and Mira stayed close, checking his bandage, giving him water, and changing the wet cloth on his forehead. She didn't know much about medicine, but her grandmother had taught her some healing tricks, using herbs and mountain plants. Those skills were now saving a man who had fallen from the sky. Outside, the air was cool and still. The silver crashed ship, half hidden by leaves, sat quietly near the trees. Myra had covered it with branches so no one in the village would see. She didn't tell anyone about Rian, not even her grandmother. People in the village didn't trust outsiders. Some might call the soldiers, others might steal. In her heart, Myra felt this man was different. He was not like the poor traders who came once a month with broken goods. It was not like the hunters or the mountain wanderers. His skin was soft, his hair clean, and his clothes, though torn, were made from some cloth she had never touched. Before, it felt warm even in the cold air, like it could change with the weather. Late in the evening, Rian opened his eyes again. "Where is this place?" he asked softly. "This is a hut near my village," Myra said. "You are on the east side of Silver Peak Mountain." Rian tried to sit, but pain shot through his side. Myra quickly stopped him. "You should rest more," she said. "You hit your head, and I think your ribs are hurt." He gave a small smile. "You're very brave to help me." Myra looked down. Anyone would help a person in need. "What?" "No," Rian said, shaking his head. "Not everyone would." She gave him a bowl of warm soup made with roots and herbs. Rian took a few sips and closed his eyes again. He looked tired but peaceful. The next morning, Rian was strong enough to sit up and talk. "My ship. Is it still there?" he asked. "Yes," Myra said. "I covered it with branches." "Good, thank you." Myra looked at him with curious eyes. "What were you doing up there? Did your ship fall from one of the flying cities?" Rian paused. "Something like that," he said carefully. "There was a problem in the air. I lost control. Wasn't supposed to land here." Myra nodded, even though she didn't fully understand. She had only heard about flying cities and old stories. In her world, there were no sky ships or metal. Homes. She walked barefoot, carried water in clay pots, and ate what she could grow or find. "You're not from any place near here, are you?" she asked. "No," Rian said. "Very far away." For the next few days, Myra came to the hut early every morning. She brought food, water, and herbs. Rian began to speak more. He asked her about the village, the people, and how they lived. She told him everything honestly about the broken water system, the sick elders, the children with no books, and the way they used fire at night because there was no power. Rian listened quietly, didn't show his feelings, but his eyes grew thoughtful. Sometimes he looked outside at the wild forest and the old huts and didn't say a word. Myra also asked him questions. "What do your cities look like?" she asked one evening. "They're tall," Rian said, "made of glass and metal. The buildings touch the sky. There are flying cars, fast trains, and lights that never go out." Myra's eyes grew wide. "People there have everything they want." "Some do," Rian said slowly, "but not all." "Then why don't they help the villages like ours?" she asked, not accusing, just wondering. Rian looked away. "Because they forget," he said. "What?" "They fly too high and forget the people below." Myra didn't know what to say. She just nodded and placed another log on the fire. One morning, Rian stood up slowly and walked outside the hut. He looked weak, but stable. He gazed at the silver wreck of his ship, still hidden beneath the branches. He opened a small panel on the side. Myra watched as a strange blue light glowed from it. "What is that?" she asked. "It's a core battery," he said, "very powerful, but it's damaged. I can't call my people yet." He took something from the ship, a small black box with blinking lights. Then he walked with Myra to the village. As they entered, people stared. Strangers were rare here. Rian looked strange with his high-tech belt, glowing shoes, and silent steps. But Myra stood beside him without fear. She showed him the broken water pump, the old solar panels that no longer worked, and the schoolhouse with no power. Rian didn't say much, but he looked at everything with sharp eyes. His fingers touched wires, pipes, and cracked panels, like he was making notes in his mind. That night, back at the hut, Rian opened his box and took out small tools. He began to fix one of the solar panels Mira had brought from the village. Sparks flew. Lights blinked. Mira sat and watched, amazed. "You can fix it?" she asked. "Yes," Rian said simply. "These things are very old, but still useful." He worked until late. When he was done, the panel glowed softly. For the first time in years, it was working again. Mira smiled. "You really are different." Rian looked at her and said, "You saved me. Now, maybe I can do something for you." Days passed quietly on the mountain. The people of Ravan village became used to seeing Rian walking beside Myra. Some watched from a distance, some whispered, but no one asked too many questions. Myra had always been kind to everyone, and if she trusted the stranger, others respected. The Rian never stayed long in the village. He visited for short moments, looked at old machines, and helped where he could. Then he would return to the hut hidden in the woods. At night, he worked silently using the strange tools from his black box. He connected wires, repaired solar panels, fixed devices the villagers thought were useless. One day, Myra brought him a broken water purifier that hadn't worked in years. It was heavy, rusted, and full of dust. "Can you try this?" she asked. Rian smiled a little. "It might take time, but I'll try." He cleaned the machine carefully, opened its base, and replaced a few wires with ones from his box. Then he attached a thin chip on the side that began to blink with soft blue light. "What is that?" Mira asked, curious. "A helper chip," Rian said. "It reads old technology and teaches it how to work again." Mira was amazed. She had never heard of such a thing. "You have many secrets," she said. Rian looked at her. "And you have many gifts," he replied. "Not many people would help a stranger from the sky." That evening, Mira invited Rian to eat with her grandmother. She cooked simple soup with rice and wild vegetables. Rian sat on the floor, just like them. He didn't act like a rich man or someone from a flying city. He smiled gently and listened with care. Myra's grandmother, who could barely walk, placed a hand on Rian's shoulder. "You have good eyes," she said, "but you hide something in them." Rian looked down and said softly, "I'm trying to remember what matters." Later that night, after helping Mira clean up, Rian and Mira walked outside. The sky was clear, full of stars. The mountain air was cold, but peaceful. "Do you ever miss your home?" Mira asked. Rian was quiet for a moment. Sometimes I wonder if I ever belonged there." "What do you mean?" Rian looked up at the stars. "Where I come from, people live in tall towers. They talk through screens, eat food made in machines, and forget to look at the sky. They work all day to earn more, buy more, and feel less. There is comfort, but no peace." Mira listened quietly. She had always dreamed of seeing those cities. But now, she wasn't sure if they were as perfect as she had imagined. "In your village," Rian continued, "people share. They laugh. Even when they have little, they sit by the fire and tell stories. There is pain, yes, but also something beautiful." Mira smiled. "Maybe you were meant to fall here," Rian chuckled. The next few days, Rian started fixing more things. He repaired 3 solar panels and connected them to the schoolhouse. The small building lit up for the first time in years. Children ran inside, laughing and shouting. He also adjusted the broken water purifier and set it near the well. Now the villagers could drink clean water without getting sick. Everyone was surprised. They thought Mira had found an old machine that somehow worked again. No one asked too many questions. Rian didn't say much, and Myra didn't reveal the truth. One evening, Rian showed Myra a small device that looked like a book, but with a screen. "This is a learning pad," he said. "You can read books, learn science, math, history, anything." Myra's eyes lit up. "Can I really use it?" "Yes, I've filled it with thousands of lessons in simple language." She held it like a treasure. "Thank you, Rian." He looked at her and said, "You are smart, Mira. You just never had the tools. But you can learn anything. You can even teach others." She nodded, already thinking about the children in the village. "I will share this." That night, Rian sat outside the hut alone. He looked up at the sky, deep in thought, small communicator. hidden under his belt, buzzed softly, showed a message. Status, still missing. Search in progress, Rian sighed. He didn't send a reply. Not yet. The next morning, Mira brought Rian a new plant she had found. It has healing roots. She said, I thought you might want to study it. Rian took it carefully and smiled. You're becoming a scientist? Myra laughed. Maybe I'll be the first village scientist of Silver Peak? I believe you will. But that afternoon, something changed. While walking near the edge of the forest, Rian and Mira saw a strange light pass through the sky, a small flying object with blinking red lights. Rian froze. That's a scout drone, he said quietly. Who's not mine? He pulled Mira back into the trees. Someone's searching, he said. I need to hide for now. Is it dangerous? Mira asked. It could be. She nodded. Come on. With me, I know a better place to hide. They rushed through the trees, away from the village, deeper into the hills. Mira led him to an old cave hidden behind thick rocks. Her father used it during storms. You can stay here, she said. No one comes this far. Rian looked at her with deep gratitude. Thank you, Mira. You've done more for me than anyone ever has. I don't need thanks, she said softly. Just don't leave without saying goodbye, he promised. The cave was cold, but dry and safe. Rian sat inside, checking his damaged communicator. It still couldn't send messages, but he knew. The drone they had seen earlier was not from his people. It was too old, too noisy. That meant others were looking, but not to rescue, maybe to steal, maybe to silence. Outside the cave, Mira gathered dry leaves and stones to block the entrance from view. She worked quickly, not saying much. Her mind was full of questions, but she stayed calm. When she finished, she turned to him. Rian, she said softly, I think it's time you tell me the truth. Rian looked at her. Her face was serious, but not angry. She had trusted him, helped him, and even risked her safety. He knew she deserved to know everything. He nodded slowly. I'm not just a trader or a traveler, he said. I come from one of the floating cities, the sky districts. I run a technology company, a large one. Myra listened quietly. I was in a private skyship, going to another sector for a meeting, but someone sent a false signal. My ship was attacked. I escaped using a small pod. That pod crashed here. Myra sat down beside him. So you are rich, yes? He said. Very rich. I have people, factories, satellites, even research labs. But when I crashed, none of that could help me. Only you did. Mira was silent for a moment, and she looked at him and said, I thought you were special. Not because of money, but because you listened, because you helped, because you care. Rian smiled. You are the special one, Mira. Most people would have left me there. She shook her head. We're all people. Some forget how to be human. Later that night, Rian showed Mira a small glass disc. When he tapped it, a light appeared in the air like a floating screen. Mira gasped softly. It showed pictures of tall silver towers, moving walkways, sky trains, and gardens that floated in the air. This is your world? She whispered double quotes, yes. Everything is clean. It looks beautiful, Rian said, but it is not perfect. Many people in the sky cities feel lonely. They never touch the earth. They don't talk to neighbors. Don't know kindness the way you do? Myra looked at the screen. So much light, but so little warmth. Rian nodded. She turned to him. Why don't people from there come here and help? He paused before answering. Some think it's not their job. Others are too busy, and some simply don't care. But I didn't know how bad things were. Until I saw your village, now you know, she said. You forget again when you go back? No, Rian said firmly. I won't. You've changed something in me. The next day, Mira returned to the village. She told her grandmother that Rian had gone to hide for a while. She didn't share everything, not yet, but she promised he would return. In the meantime, Myra started teaching the children using the learning pad Rian gave her. The screen worked without power and spoke in a friendly voice. The children loved it. They learned to read, to count, and even about stars, the village elders noticed. They didn't understand how the device worked, but they saw the joy it brought. They began to accept Rian, even without seeing him. One evening, Mira took food too. The cave again. Rian looked tired. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I think someone is getting close," he said. "The drone I saw had a tracker. It means someone dangerous might come looking for the pod. Should we destroy it?" Asked. "No," Rian said. "It has data that can't fall into the wrong hands. I'll move it tonight. Do you need help?" "No, you've done enough. Just be careful." Mira nodded, but she couldn't stop worrying. That night, Rian carried the memory chip from the pod deep into the forest and buried it under a large tree. He wiped his tracks and returned to the cave. He knew time was running out. People would eventually find him, but so might others. It's the wrong ones. The next morning, strange. Footsteps were seen near the village. Mira heard whispers from the farmers. Men in dark clothes. "Asking questions," someone said. "They're looking for something." Myra's heart raced. She went to Rian at once. "They've come," she said. Rian stood up. "I have one." More plan. He pulled out a hidden device from his jacket. It was flat and silver, with a red button in the center. "What is that?" Mira asked. "Emergency beacon," he said. "I fixed it last night. It can call my people. Will it bring help?" "Yes, but it also tells others where I am." Mira looked at him. "Then we must be ready." Rian pressed the button. Soft pulse of light blinked, then vanished into the sky. "Now we wait," he said. That evening, Mira sat beside Rian outside the cave. They watched the stars in silence. The wind was gentle, and the moon hung low over the mountains. "You know," Mira said, "when I found you, I thought you were just a lost man with strange clothes. But now I know you're more than that." Rian turned to her. "When you are more than a mountain girl, you have a heart stronger than any engine I've built." She smiled. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm glad I met you." "So am I." They didn't speak after that. They just sat under the stars, quiet, but not alone. Two people from two very different worlds, now connected by trust, courage, and something unspoken. The sun rose slowly over Silver Peak Mountain. It was quiet, but something felt different. The birds didn't sing as much, and the wind carried. In uneasy silence, Myra stood near the water well, filling her clay pot. She looked around. A few villagers were speaking in low voices. Two strangers had been seen in the early morning, men in dark coats, walking slowly, asking about a man who may have fallen from the sky. They said he may be hurt. An old man told Mira they had machines on their belts and glasses that showed lights, not like us. Mira's heart tightened. These were not normal travelers. They were searching. They were getting closer. She quickly left the pot near her hut and rushed toward the woods, making her way to the hidden cave where Rian was staying. When she reached it, she found him outside, holding a flat round device. It glowed softly. "They've entered the forest," he said calmly. "I heard," Mira replied. "What do we do now?" "I called for help last night. My people will come soon. But we need to keep them away from the village until then." Mira looked into his eyes.
"Oh, lies.
"If they reach the village, people may get scared. Some may try to protect you. Some may tell them where you are." "I know," Rian said. "That's why I'll move." He picked up his bag and checked the small screen on his belt. "There's an old mine cave north of the hill. I'll go there. It's far from the village." Mira took a deep breath. "I'll come with you." Rian shook his head. "It's dangerous. I'm not leaving you now," she said. "We started this together." He looked at her for a moment and nodded. "All right, let's go." They moved carefully through the forest, staying low, avoiding open paths. Mountain. Suddenly, from a distance, they heard voices. Then a buzzing sound. A scout drone passed above the trees. It stopped in the air for a second, scanning the area with a red beam. Rian quickly pulled Mira behind a large boulder. He stayed still until the drone passed. "That's not from my company," he whispered. "That belongs to the same people who shot my ship. Why are they after you?" Mira asked softly. I found something powerful, a data key that holds information about illegal weapons. Someone wanted it hidden. When I refused to help them, they tried to stop me. Myra was shocked, so they attacked your ship to destroy the truth. Yes, Rian said, but I still have the data hidden near the crash site. Mira's eyes grew wide. If they find that, they'll do anything to keep it secret. By afternoon, Mira and Rian reached the old mine. It was dark, cold, and half broken, but it had deep tunnels inside. They entered the cave and set down their things. We'll stay here, Rian said. It's just until my people arrive. Mira lit a small lantern. And what if the men find us first? Rian touched the flat device on his wrist. Then we'll make sure they don't reach the village. That night, the sky turned cloudy. No stars, no moon. The mountain was covered in shadow, back in Raven. The two strangers entered the village. They asked the head elder about the crash. They showed him a blurry picture of Rian, taken from an old satellite. The elder said nothing, but a young man who had seen Mira walking into the woods pointed toward the East Hills. They've been going there often, he said. That girl and the outsider. The men thanked him and left quietly. Inside the mine, Rian couldn't sleep. He checked his device again. No signal yet. Myra sat beside him, her arms wrapped around her knees. You look tired, he said gently. I'm fine, she replied. Just thinking about what? About everything. About how I found you. About how my quiet world changed. Rian smiled. I thought I would change your life, but you changed mine first. Mira looked at him. You don't belong here, but I think your heart does. Before Rian could speak, a sound echoed through the tunnel footsteps. He stood up quickly. They're here. Mira blew out the lantern. They moved deeper into the cave, careful not to make noise. The footsteps grew louder. Lights flashed at the cave entrance. Voices called out, Come out, Rian. We know you're in here. Rian pulled a small device from his bag and handed it to Mira. If something happens to me, take this and give it to my people, he said. They'll know what to do. No, Mira whispered. We'll both make it. Suddenly, a loud humming filled the air. Then a bright blue light flashed outside the cave. Rian looked at his wrist screen and smiled. They're here. It's outside. A sleek silver aircraft hovered silently in the air. It had no wings, just soft glowing panels. 3 figures stepped out in clean white suits. They carried no weapons, but their presence was strong. Step away from the cave, one of them said firmly. The 2 men in black turned, surprised. This is a private matter. Stay out of it. This is a rescue operation, the leader said. You are not authorized. One of the black-coated men reached for his belt butt before he could act. A blue net shot out from the rescue team and trapped both men in seconds. Inside the cave, Myra and Rian came out slowly. The rescue team rushed toward Rian. Sir, we've been searching for you, one said. Rian nodded. I'm safe, thanks to her. They looked at Myra with respect. We've captured the trackers, the leader said, and we secured the area. Rian looked at Mira. It's time. The next morning, the mountain was quiet again. The strange men were gone, taken away by Rian's rescue team. The silver aircraft stood on a flat area near the old mine. It shimmered in the morning sun, looking like something from a dream. Mira stood beside Rian, her eyes wide. She had never seen anything so perfect. Smooth metal, glowing lights, soft sounds instead of smoke or fire. It did not feel like a machine. It felt alive. Rian looked at her face. Would you like to see inside? She nodded, almost too shy to speak. He led her up a soft ramp that opened like a petal. Inside, it was clean, quiet, and bright. The seats were soft, the air fresh. Screens floated in the air, showing maps, messages, and stars above. This is just a scout ship, Rian said, smiling. A small one. My city is much bigger. Mira touched a wall. It felt warm. She looked around, her voice quiet. It's like another world. It is, he said. And I want you to see it. Mira turned. Me, yes, Rian said. I want you to come with me. to the sky districts, to learn, to see, to grow. I'm just a village girl. You're more than that, he replied. You're brave, smart. You saved my life. You fixed things when they were broken. You taught me what real kindness is. Mira lowered her eyes. What would I even do there? You'll learn, he said. We have schools, teachers, technology that can teach you faster than any book. You can choose your path. You can study science, healing, engineering, even leadership. She looked up. And after that, Rian said, you can return here or do something bigger. Help more villages. Change lives like you changed mine. Mira felt her heart beat faster. The offer sounded beautiful, but also big. Too big. I need to think, she said softly. Of course, Rian replied. Take your time. That afternoon, Rian returned to the village with his team. People watched with curious eyes. As the silver ship hovered gently above the ground, children ran around pointing and laughing. Elders came out of their huts, surprised but not afraid. Rian stood in front of them and spoke clearly. I was a stranger here. You gave me shelter through Mira. You showed me how strong, kind, and good your people are. I want to say thank you. He looked at the team beside him and gave a signal. They brought out 4 small boxes and opened them. Inside were compact machines. Clean water filters, solar chargers, and health kits. These are gifts for your village, Rian said. They will give you clean water, light at night, and tools to stay healthy. Some cried. It was more than they had ever hoped for. Mira stood beside her grandmother, watching everything. She felt proud, but also nervous. She still hadn't answered Rian. Later that evening, Mira sat near the river alone. The sky was pink, the water cold on her feet. So many thoughts filled her mind. If she went with Rian, she would leave her grandmother, her village, her mountain. But she would also gain a future she never imagined. Rian walked up quietly and sat beside her. I brought something for you, he said, handing her a small silver pin. It was shaped like a leaf. When she touched it, it glowed softly. What is it? She asked. A key, he said. It's a pass to my learning center. Only those I invite personally get it. Mira stared at it for a while. Then she spoke. When I was little, she said, I used to look at the stars and wish to fly. But I never thought anyone like me could. You were always meant to fly, Mira, Rian said. You just needed someone to see it. She turned to him. What if I fail? You won't, he said gently. And even if you do, you'll get up again. That's who you are. Mira looked at the mountains one last time. Then she nodded. I'll go, she said. But only if you promise me something. Anything. Help me return one day. I want to come back with knowledge. I want to teach the children. I want to give this village a voice. Rian smiled. Then that's exactly what we'll do. Next morning, the village gathered to say goodbye. Mira hugged her grandmother tightly. I'll write to you, Mira said. They'll bring messages every week. Her grandmother nodded with watery eyes. Go, child. Learn everything. Become someone great. I'll be waiting. Mira turned to the children. Keep learning. Be strong. I'll come back for you. Then she walked up the ramp with Rian. The door closed gently behind her. As the ship lifted into the air, the villagers waved. Some cheered, some cried. Mira looked through the clear wall. Her heart was heavy, but also full of hope. Rian stood beside her. Ready? He asked. She took a deep breath. Yes. The ship turned toward the clouds. Higher and higher it rose, until the mountain became a small shape below. Mira looked ahead. The sky was wide, the world big, and for the first time in her life, she felt like it truly belonged to her. 3 years passed. The village of Ravan had changed, but its soul was still the same. The trees still danced with the wind. The river still sang its soft music. But now, there were clean lights on every path, water taps near each home, and a small learning center where children read from glowing screens instead of torn books. People still spoke of the day. Mira left how she rose into the sky in a silver ship beside the stranger she had saved. At first, many thought she would forget them, but she never did. Every month, A silver drone arrived with messages, medicines, and tools. Sometimes it brought letters from Mira, simple words but full of warmth. I miss the village. I'm studying hard. I'm learning things I never dreamed of. One day, I'll come back. And when I do, I'll bring more than gifts. I'll bring change. Her grandmother kept every letter in a wooden box, reading them often. Her eyes had grown weaker, but her smile was still strong. She's coming back, she would say. My Myra never breaks a promise. And then, one bright morning, something strange happened. The sky shimmered above the mountain. A quiet hum filled the air. Children ran to the hills, shouting, "It's her! It's her!" Sleek silver aircraft floated down like a falling feather. It stopped near the same spot where Rion's ship had crashed. Years ago, the doors opened slowly, and out stepped Mira, but she was not the same girl who had once walked barefoot through the forest. Her clothes were clean and sharp, made of smart fabric. A silver band wrapped gently around her wrist. Her hair was tied neatly, and her eyes held a light deeper than the stars. Yet her smile, that kind, warm smile, had not changed at all. Her grandmother walked through the crowd, leaning on a stick. Mira ran to her and fell to her knees. "Dottie," she whispered. Her grandmother touched her face. "You've grown into a light, my child, a light for all of us." That evening, the whole village gathered for a welcome feast. Under the soft glow of solar lanterns, people sat in circles, sharing food and stories. Mira sat beside the elders, answering questions. "What did you see up there?" a young boy asked. "I saw cities in the clouds," Mira replied, "but I also saw lonely hearts. I saw people with everything, but no time to share. That's why I came back, because you still know how to live." She stood up and looked at the villagers. "I went as a student," she said, "but now I return as a builder. I've brought help, machines, teachers, doctors, but more than that, I've brought plans. We will grow, but we will stay true to who we are." People clapped. Some cried. Then she turned to the children. "Starting tomorrow, I'll teach you not just how to read and count, but how to dream. Because dreams don't belong to cities or rich people. They belong to those who believe." In the following weeks, Myra worked harder than ever. I opened a small learning center with her own hands. She taught the children science, energy, and health. She brought in kind teachers from nearby towns, not machines, but real people who understood the village's heart. She also helped build clean energy towers that stored sunlight and gave power all day and night. Farmers received small farming bots that helped with planting and watering. For the first time, the crops grew strong even in dry months. But Myra never acted like a ruler. She wore simple clothes, ate simple food, and listened to every voice, young or old, rich or poor. One evening, as she walked along the river, Rian arrived in a small flying craft. He stepped out and smiled. "I had to see it with my own eyes." Mira laughed, and, "I've never seen a more beautiful village," he said. They sat by the water, just like old times. "I'm proud of you," Rian said. "You didn't just learn, you became a leader." "I had a good teacher," she replied. "You believed in me when no one else did." Rian looked at the hills. "What will you do next?" "I'll train more girls," Mira said. "They'll go out, learn, and return too. Slowly, our small world will become stronger." Before leaving, Rian called the villagers and made an announcement. "I've started a fund," he said, "to support young minds from small places. We'll call it the Myra Foundation. And this village will be the heart of it." Everyone cheered. Mira's eyes filled with tears. "You've done more than enough," she told him. "No," Rian replied. "You showed me what true wealth is, and it's not gold or towers or ships. It's people like you." He flew away quietly, leaving behind a future built on hope. Years later, the village of Ravon became known across the land, not for its size, but for its spirit. People came from far to learn, to teach, and to share. Mira's story was told again and again. A poor girl who saved a stranger, not knowing he was a billionaire. A girl who went to the stars and returned not to escape her roots but to water them. And when children asked, "Can we be like her?" the answer was always the same. Yes. If you are brave, kind, and never stop dreaming, you already are.